back in it. This is 10 games where you actually change the world. I saw Far Cry 5 on like the title screen, and I saw a few clips. I saw about 5 seconds. So yeah, Far Cry revolutionary. There's never been a game quite like it. And never probably never gonna be another one. I was playing Far Cry New Dawn. It's cool, but it's not Far Cry 5. They even got some of the characters from Far Cry 5 in it to get, I guess, add to it, make it. I don't know. It's not the same though. Anyways, I think we're gonna get right to it. Appreciate y'all for joining in. Let's go.
Oh, the injustice in the video game world. And I'm not talking about the industry, I'm talking about the in-game world that your character wakes up in, and you know something's gotta give. It just feels like it's time to go on the hero's journey. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 games where you actually change the world. Starting off with number 10, it's the Far Cry series. Let's start off with a relatively tame example of this sort of thing. In the Far Cry games, at least the ones after 3, you start off with a big old map covered in enemy bases. The roads are heavily patrolled, safe houses are few and far between, allies are tough to come by, but as you slowly and surely dismantle the enemy, cleaning out bases and messing the crap up, the world changes. It's nothing mind-blowing. Mostly you're just thinning up patrols and removing enemies from sections of the map, but it does have a noticeable effect on how easy it is to get around in the cleared out areas compared to the ones that are still under enemy control. The transformation aspect is especially pronounced in Far Cry 5, where the difference between the outposts controlled by the cult versus the ones reclaimed by the citizens of Hope County, it's super pronounced. Cult compounds are covered in their propaganda, effigies, dead people are strung up all over. When you clear them out, people move in and clean everything up. And that's generally what happens in the entire world as the game goes on. All the cult stuff goes down, natural order of things is restored. The same thing happens in 4 and 6 with the rebels taking out military bases and stuff, but it's not as noticeable. It helps that most locations in Far Cry 5 are pretty mundane. They've just been corrupted by the cult, so turn them back to normal feels like a lot more of an accomplishment. The way the world transforms in these games isn't groundbreaking or anything. It's pretty common open world stuff, but it's the kind of prototypical example of this sort of thing. It's a good place to start when you're talking about games that let you transform the world.
Today I'm trying out Co-Producer from Output. Go ahead and capture audio. Let's go ahead and find some samples.
I ain't gonna like John was like the hardest one to beat. I hate when they make you go down there and them bumpers.
At number 9 is My Time at Sandrock. The My Time at games are basically what if Stardew Valley was blank, but all the farming is replaced with crafting. And in these games you play as a builder, taking all these small-scale projects with massive ones, mixing it up, completely alters the entire environment you're in. That's one of the most appealing things about this game, especially the second one, My Time at Sandrock. You start off in an almost deserted ghost town, eventually transform it into a much better place to live, yada yada. It's not quick. This game is long and there's a ton of civil projects you eventually take up, but by the end of the game, the world is almost unrecognizable compared to where it starts. You don't just build a bunch of new structures in town, you create a massive bridge and a highway, you terraform the environment, bring in the trees, the green grass, where there's previously just endless desert. For most of the game, a nearby valley is just a toxic waste dump full of enemies, but after a long quest chain, you eventually clear it out, tear down all the garbage, turn the place into an amusement park. It's a massive undertaking, but it's very, very satisfying to go back and look at your handiwork. Yeah, it's all basically scripted. It's not a sandbox game where you can build whatever you want, but usually in these kinds of games, the amount you transform is pretty limited, and Sandrock, not the case. The town you start with versus the one you end with is drastically different. At number 8 is The Saboteur. This open-world World War II action game has a lot in common with stuff like Far Cry. The map's dotted with enemy bases and checkpoints, all that kind of crap for you to clear out. There's one major difference, though, the color mechanic. It's basically Okami, but World War II, but instead of restoring nature, you're killing Nazis.
Help me, Irishman. We cannot allow them to sound the alarm.
It's always, you gotta take them out.
I mean, you get what's going on here, right? Bro, the game starts out with all Paris in moody black and white. All the colors literally been sucked out of the city, but as you clear out the occupation with bombs and bullets, color is restored to each district one at a time. Even when you bring color back, completely driving out the German presence is a slow and laborious process, because if you want to get rid of all this unsightly metal structures, fuel stations, and checkpoints built by the invaders, you need explosives, and you need a lot of them. And blowing stuff up in this game isn't like Red Faction Guerrilla. It requires some careful precision and forethought. It's real work clearing out all the enemy stuff, but it makes a huge difference in the long run. Getting rid of checkpoints and guard posts makes it way easier to explore the city unimpeded, and if you do get caught in the black and white districts, you can always flee to the color ones, get some backup, and lose your pursuers pretty quickly. This game's advertising campaign emphasized mayhem, but it's actually pretty more methodical, playing closer to like a social stealth, like a Hitman game or something, than the like non-stop explosive madness of something like Red Faction Guerrilla. But it's all the more satisfying because of it.
I wonder when that 1932 Captain America was a black April 15th.
And number 7 is Fallout 4. Sure, Fallout 3 and New Vegas can be reactive in their own ways, but 4 is actually the game that really lets you alter the world in a way that other games in the series can't. Mostly boils down to the settlement system. It's something that can be easily ignored if you don't care about it, but for players who do like to build up settlements, it's pretty possible to drastically change the Commonwealth. There is some story stuff that can affect which faction is on top at the end of the game, but let's be real here. That doesn't really affect a lot. Yeah, a faction might get wiped off the map, but otherwise the actual wasteland's functionally the same. But if you focus on building up settlements, the world can look pretty damn different. You could turn an entire burned out neighborhood into a thriving and well-organized city with electricity and defensive turrets and multiple stores to buy and sell goods.
That's what it's called. When's this coming out?
As settlements expand, more traders will start traveling the roads. More sections of the map will be safer to explore, and there'll be just more people around that are happier and more secure. Sure, you can half-ass it and leave these settlements mostly unchanged, but for ambitious players, every little settlement can become a thriving mini-metropolis. You're never going to make anything look as good as new, but the best you can do is making everything not quite as dumpy. Compared to how things start in Fallout 4, that's a pretty big improvement.
Struggling to get started on your book? Meet Squibbler, the AI book writer that transforms your ideas into
good caps to be made protecting folk.
The only way you get old in this job is assume everyone's out to kill you.
At number 6 is From Dust. This weird as hell God game came out back when Ubisoft actually did something interesting occasionally. Wasn't great, but it was different. This unusual God game is all about manipulating the world and transforming the environment to overcome various challenges. It's got the usual stuff you expect from God games. You can raise and lower terrain, for example, but what really makes this game impressive is the water. It can erode terrain and do all kinds of crazy stuff to the world. The way you manipulate things in this game is so much more tactile than you usually see in the average God game. There might be some simulation elements in older games, but they're all in the background, and the transformations are more abstract, while in From Dust, you really feel like a godlike entity with the power to build mountains and cause catastrophic floods in an instant. It's a rush, even if the actual mechanics of the game are pretty basic compared to your traditional God game. This game takes a real hands-on approach to world transformation. You're physically moving things around and redirecting water and dumping lava balls. It's unique, if nothing else, and one of those games that's just fun to screw around in. Ignore the objectives. Trying to actually play this thing can be pretty frustrating, but just spending a few minutes being a god it's worth it. If you can actually get this thing running these days, good luck with that. That's the tough part. At number 5 is Dying Light 2. For as ultimately flawed as Dying Light 2 ended up being, it had one really cool idea, the whole faction system and the way that it transforms the world. In this open world zombie survival game, there's two opposing factions who are both unique dickheads. One side isn't necessarily the good guys, they're just dickheads in different ways. It's kind of like real life and everything going on at the highest levels of our society. But helping out one of them gives you tangible benefits in this game, so I guess not completely like our society. But there's the survivors, which are just your average post-apocalyptic dudes, people in rags who live in shacks. And then there's the peacekeepers, who are militarized police faction. They're obsessed with order. As you progress through the game, you can clear out locations, and you can give to either one of these groups. When you do, they'll take over the base, spread out across the entire district, and transform it to match their aesthetics. So if you side with the survivors, the rooftops get covered in houses and gardens, while if you side with the peacekeepers, they put metal towers everywhere, throw down barriers, and all kinds of defensive crap. When these groups move in, they completely change the location they move into, and it's not just visually. They do things like add patrols in the streets with the peacekeepers, additional traps to take out zombies. The survivors don't clear the streets out that much. Instead, they install these extra tools to make moving around the city easier, like zip lines and trampolines and air vents. Trying to get around without this stuff is a lot more difficult, especially in the more vertical second section of the map, where you're in downtown parts of the city with these high-rise buildings and crap. These extra movement tools completely change how you travel around that environment. Sure, the story's a little boring, and the way night works is definitely worse than the original game, but if there's one thing that's actually fun about that makes this game better in some way, it's the way you transform the environment by expanding faction influence. That's fun and well implemented. At number 4 is Death Stranding. You can't have a list like this without throwing Death Stranding in the mix. Change the environment is a central part of the gameplay loop. Your goal the entire game is to make things easier. For yourself, and I guess technically for others. The world's barren, though. It's empty. It's very difficult to navigate. All you have is some rope and a ladder or two to get up and down steep surfaces and cross rivers. But as you make deliveries and expand the network, new technologies unlock, and it makes traveling around the world much easier. You start being able to place down bridges and make rivers easier. You can put roads down that automatically charge your vehicles and install permanent zip lines to make getting over mountains much easier. The world map starts off real lonely and barren, but as you get further into the game, the whole thing gets more and more built up. It's practically unrecognizable by the end. Then there's the void outs, these massive explosions that leave huge craters in the environments when you kill a guy out in the world. These eventually get filled in again, but it's worth calling out because you rarely ever see this kind of terrain deformation in an open world game. The craters don't drastically affect gameplay or anything, but it's an impressive reminder of the dangers of killing in this bizarre post-apocalyptic world.
I feel like I'm always talking
And number 3 is Terranigma. The Super Nintendo had a lot of games about changing the world. ActRaiser, Chrono Trigger to a certain extent, Soul Blazer. There are a lot of action games where fixing or building up the world is a central element, but Terranigma is just about the perfect example of a game where you actually change the world, because that's the entire premise of the game. It's a game where the world starts in a completely desolate state, but as you progress through the story, clearing out dungeons, you restore life to the surface, you bring animals to the world, and eventually humans. You restore continents, advance through the story.
number 2.
And number
It was.
GameFly is the best way to try new games.
I just saw Marvel 19.
Rent it, love it, buy it at a discount, or send it back. Keep the games you love at a great discount.
2 is State of Decay 2. It's a game that takes a much more strategic approach to open world action games. Less about running around bashing zombies and more about resource management and planning. You start off with a single safe house surrounded by infested zones. It's up to you to keep everybody in your camp happy, clear out the infestations, make the world safer, collect resources to upgrade your base. It's not a full-blown strategy game, but it's not all just zombie bashing. More of a hybrid experience. And that's what makes it feel unique after all these years. There's a slow but satisfying sense of progression as you build up your camp and clear out the world. You gather new members for your. And finally, at number 1 is the Planet Crafter. Your goal in this game is nothing less than taking this barren rock of a planet and transforming it into a place that's hospitable to life. One of those words. You know, with plant life and animals and stuff. That. You start off in what's basically a dead world with no oxygen, no heat, no pressure, no nothing. Using technology, you bring it back to life. It's less of a standard survival game and more an unusual take on something like Subnautica. The game's planet is set and you slowly terraform it. New areas start to open up throughout the course. Like if the planet heats up enough, some ice that's blocking some caves that it'll melt, or a massive rock formation that's blocking a path will get broken. Might be due to an event, might be because trees are growing through it when you start restoring plant life, that kind of thing. It's not entirely a sandbox game, more of an exploration game with building elements. More structured than you might think going in, with a story that progresses and different biomes to explore with their own secrets to uncover. The sense of progression in Planet Crafter is beyond almost any other survival game out there. The world changes so much over the course of the story, and you're directly responsible for making it happen. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video,
okay, that sounds good. Anyways, I gotta go.